She didn't know she was black till she turned 27 years old.
Eu me descobri negra em 2015. Eu estava às vésperas de completar 27 anos, 26 para 27 anos.
It's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Yo, you already know what time it is. It's me again, Shady, your boy, Shady, the one and only. Me, you know me, Shady Shae. Yeah, that's my best attempt at Portuguese at the moment. Anyway, guys, we're checking out a lot of music here, a lot of rap by Reactionaries, by Reactionaries MCs. All right, they were talking about the challenges of people in Brazil and also the black people. Today, we're gonna check out a video that says what it means to be black in Brazil. I want to know if it's the same as it is here. So without saying too much, guys, we are going to check this out. But before we start, guys, you know, just go down there, subscribe, smash like, share. Come on, let's do this. All right, let's go.
To be black in Brazil, which is the second largest country by the number of black people, is a challenge.
Brazil imported more slaves from Africa than any other country.
More than 4 million African slaves were brought to Brazil between the 16th and the 19th centuries.
Brazil was one of the last countries in the world to abolish slavery in 1888.
There are several things that make our racism specific. No less brutal, no less cruel, but it's specific to the Brazilian context.
You know the crazy thing? These people were in their countries, okay, and then you bring them in and you're racist to them. Like bringing people from their continent, bringing people from their own continent to your own continent, to your country, making them slaves, then freeing them and then being racist to them.
This myth that the birth of the nation was composed of several races, and because of the diversity of people here, we would actually live in a racial democracy where everyone has a place in it. And because of this multiracial aspect of our society, we don't necessarily consider the ancestry of people in Brazil by defining their race.
A lot of people don't see themselves as black, as part of a discriminated group, as part of the group that for almost 4 centuries were working as slaves here in Brazil.
Eu me descobri negra em 2015. Eu estava às vésperas de completar 27 anos, 26 para 27 anos. A nossa história, né, os livros não contam. Eu comecei a buscar por autoras tanto contemporâneas quanto autoras já mais antigas, né, Lélia Gonzalez, né.
Isso é uma prova patente, né, desse racismo não assumido existente na sociedade brasileira, né, do racismo que eu chamo de racismo por denegação, né.
So they hide the racism, they denied racism. She didn't know she was black till she turned 27 years old.
It was harder to have a black identity with all the whiteness around you and you had no positive reference of blackness. It's not that those references didn't exist. They did, but they were erased. How could you want to be someone who's going to be erased?
The black movement in Brazil started when black people ran away from slavery. Quilombos were the first black organizations in Brazil.
Over the years, thousands of slaves who escaped their masters established so-called Quilombo communities. The biggest and best known of them was the Quilombo dos Palmares, led by Zumbi dos Palmares.
There was a very specific dynamic during slavery, which was the establishment of a free black population with personalities like André Rebouças, who fought to have their voices heard even before abolition. To silence this black narrative was a very clear and powerful project.
There were no racially oriented policies in Brazil, such as in South Africa's apartheid or the Jim Crow laws in the United States, but even though we didn't have such policies, Brazil created a lot of obstacles that prevented black people from accessing lands, the labor market, and education. For more than 100 years, people who didn't know how to read or write could not vote. And who were these people? Mostly black people.
Meu avô, por parte de pai, chegou no Brasil no navio negreiro, ele tinha 5 anos. E a questão racial na minha família nunca foi muito discutida. Eu comecei a me descobrir negra quando eu fui para a faculdade. As experiências que eu tive antes com preconceito, com uma série de coisas, eu entendia como preconceito de classe. A minha identidade era da morena, eu era mulata.
In Brazil, the term pardo translates to brown or mixed race with African ancestry. It refers to the mix between black and white people or black and indigenous people. In the country's first census in 1872, brown people were among both the free and the enslaved population. It's important to highlight the fact that a part of them were also enslaved along with black people. In the 1940 census, the immigration process played a big role.
They brought people from Europe to Brazil to work in the industrialization process. But these people also helped whitewash the society because people in power believed that there were a lot of black people here and it was necessary to make the society whiter.
From the 1940s onwards, there was a solid growth of the brown population as a result of miscegenation, the racial mixing. The concept of racial democracy was developed in a way that highlights the idea of harmonious coexistence between races in Brazil. We are talking about the 1940s when the world was experiencing World War II and Nazism. And Brazil had a mixed population with racial conflicts that were not disclosed as in countries such as the USA and South Africa.
That's crazy.
In most countries of South America, the color of one's skin does not always determine one's social standing. As a matter of fact, the racial color line seems to be so thinly drawn here that it has become a haven of toleration for all races.
After the war, Brazil became a laboratory for the world when a UNESCO project decided to analyze racial relations in the country. And that's when our supposed racial democracy is debunked. Those studies put a spotlight on the existence of discrimination based on race in Brazil.
Isto que é designado por aí como democracia racial tem sido através da história apenas a sistemática exclusão do africano e seus descendentes de todos os níveis de poder e de decisão neste país.
Several black movements such as Frente Negra and later on the Unified Black Movement managed to take to the streets even during dictatorship because of their willingness to denounce the myth of racial democracy, which was one of the bases of dictatorship in Brazil.
They are hiding it. They were hiding it, making it look to the world like there's unity, they're all together, there's racial happiness and harmony, but it was always a lie. They were just being in denial of the whole fact. To be honest, like I said to you, I didn't know about racism in Brazil. Okay, like basically all I see is that Brazil is just a place to go. Look at how happy they are. Look at how the beautiful people, black, brown, mixed race, sweet color. I'm like, whoa, Brazil, bro, and they can play football as well. Crazy, man. But wow, all these things were just hidden.
In the beginning of democracy after 1985, there were also big protests in Brazil.
To choose Zumbi dos Palmares as the symbol of freedom was very important for us black people because the history taught in schools was that Princess Isabel was the one responsible for making black people free.
Whoa. We managed to get a lot of improvements out of these mobilizations. First of all, we managed to include racism as a crime in the 1988 Constitution.
Viva a raça negra do nosso país!
As well as to include the protection of quilombolas, who are former slaves' descendants. Later on, under Fernando Henrique Cardoso, Lula and Dilma administrations, we managed to have several policies in favor of black people, especially during Lula's term. The Secretariat for Racial Equality was established. Several universities established affirmative actions based on race. Self-identification, looking at oneself and thinking about whether you're a black person or not, is very much a political act. It's a way to understand the context, your ancestry, and to see your place in history and the way people look at you. So, those policies that target specifically race, not only class, not only gender, but also race as one of the key components of hierarchies in Brazil, they made a lot of people recognize the role of race in their own lives.
Between 2000 and 2010, the black population grew at a higher rate than the total population. We cannot oversimplify the understanding of this process, but part of this growth involved a change in self-identification. Many studies show that brown and black populations have pretty similar socioeconomic characteristics which widely differ from those of white people. The black movement considered it politically important not to separate those two groups, otherwise we can't properly elaborate.
This like the Americans do. In Brazil, you guys go through this in Brazil.
Is at the very core of police brutality and the ideology that allows it to happen. On a daily basis, we see that black people are subject to a much larger level of police violence than white people. 75% of people killed by the police last year in Brazil were black.
You are telling me that what you face in Brazil, like for me, I'm like, okay, listening to your songs, I was like, okay, rationalize MCs, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm listening to this, I'm like, yeah, these are things that Americans go through, and these are things that people go through as well in Europe. Even in Europe, it's not really that bad. It's kind of hidden, but we see it sometimes, like it looks like it's a bit worse, but it's kind of hidden. So I'll say in Europe, we have it quite easy, all right. But from what I'm seeing, it's like you have it worse. You only found out what his hair was like when he was 18. Yo, nah, this oppression is next level. Didn't expect anything like this.
It's very exciting and important to see that people are very much involved in the fight against racism, especially young people. Amid the bad things that are happening in politics and economics and the pandemics, there is a counter-striking power that is led by black people in Brazil, and I think that's a very important thing to recognize as well.
How can you deny people their history? People need to know where they're coming from. Yeah, people need to know about their family history, their ancestry. People need to know things like this. Even if it was grim, even if it was terrible, even if the past was dark, people still deserve to know where they're coming from. They deserve to know who they are. All right, because that will help them really understand themselves, and they'll have a clarity, and they can carry on with life, seek a better, brighter future. But like the racism in Brazil that you guys have spoken about in this video, I'm like, this happened in Brazil, and this is happening in Brazil. That is so insane. All right, so insane. Looking into Brazil from outside, okay, looking into Brazil from a different part of the world, like me, I was always thinking that Brazilians, yeah, you guys are having a good time in your life. Brazil is like a paradise, so beautiful, amazing. But then I hear about the crimes. Okay, I'm like, yeah, there's crime in London as well. There's crime in UK. There's crime in America. There's crime in Africa, Nigeria. But after listening to your rationalized MCs and hearing the stories, I'm like, so they are forced into crime because of lack of options, opportunities, yeah, and empowerment to be their better selves. And from this video, hopefully I'm not getting it wrong, they say 56% of the population are black, but they are still going through this. The majority are going through racism by the minority. That is incredible craziness. Okay, that is so insane, man. Oh my days. They're like, my heart goes out to you guys, you know, my heart really does. In this day and age, I never thought something like this would still be an issue, because it should be an issue of the past where humanity has learned to be one. We have learned to tolerate each other. We have learned to come together as a population, as one nation, to move forward for the development of the nation. But still, there are all these schisms, these divisions between races. They're trying to put a race down. That is crazy. Anyway, it's good for us to lecture ourselves. I mean, now I can see what it means to be black in Brazil, and I'm glad there are movements that are trying to rectify this whole problem. insane. Guys, love to all of you still. My heart goes up to you. I'm gonna catch you on the next video. Peace out.
Oh, and I promise not to leave.